Hello, hello, hello to my beautiful, perfect wizards. Happy Wednesday. Before we get into today's show, I wanted to drop this in your ear holes. My holiday sale is live. I decided I was going to do it a little bit earlier this year because so much goes on with Cyber Monday and we're inundated with so many cyber sales, Black Friday, all the things. So I always like to give you guys a little bit of space and time to sit with any of my products if they call to you. I rarely do sales, so I don't want to spam you. I do maybe one, maybe two a year, either at the holidays or on my birthday, celebration of life sale, and that's about it. So, the two most important ones that I want to highlight that I think are the most supportive for this time of life, my intuition activation. It is most supportive for those who feel maybe dysregulated around food, especially during the holidays, can be kind of triggersome because there's so much pressure that we put on ourselves to, be perfect all the time or whatever it is for you. But I really feel whatever you can insert, say it's food or alcohol or whatever it is for you, that you would love your intuition to support you around. What I do is I have tons of meditations, EFT tapping, just audio activations where I guide you and I will energetically work with your intuition and just help you. I kind of hold your hand and show you a few practices. And then that way you can go out into the world and be your best, most beautiful, brightest unicorn self. This is all about you having the tools to tap into your discernment. And I'm just really creating a safe place for you to sit and play with your intuitive voice and your intuitive knowing. And so that's my intuition activation course. It's originally 444. You'll know, I'm sorry, I have to do angel numbers. I could never let you down like that. It's right now, it's 111. So that's like the most I've ever marked off. It's just going to be for this week. So I just really want that one to get into as many people's hands as possible because it's brought me a lot of peace and taken away so much anxiety in social settings. So I wish that for you guys. And then also my front runner, my top performing class is the How to Read the Akashic Records. And I channeled my own prayer. It's called The Pathway to Cosmic Delight. And actually in this episode today, Morgan she really talks about her experience in the Akashic Records. And I was not going to make her go into it too much, but she just shared how it's changed her practice. And as a health practitioner, or being in the health space, she is able to use the Akashic Records to help all of her clients. And it's just a really cool way that it doesn't matter. You don't have to become an Akashic Records reader. Learning how to read the Akashic Records, one, it's an activation for you to strengthen your intuitive abilities, but also you can really blend it with any type of work or modality that you're doing. And it's so supportive for all facets of life. You don't ever have to offer in a reading. It truly is for everyone. And I'm so passionate about it and I love it. And the Akashic Records just is our soul's library. It connects us with our soul's purpose. It is our life script. It is God's plan. It is all of those things that whatever word feels most resonant for you. It's just a really beautiful tool to have in your toolbox. And it's changed my life so immensely. And I'm just so honored every single day that I get to teach this work and that I have students all over the world. It is the coolest. It's my biggest flex in this life. How about that? So, anyways, it's going to be half off today too. And that one is a very, very short window because she's my number one prized possession. That course, I've poured my heart and my soul into it, and everyone's had such a great experience. So, anyways, okay, I'm done rambling. Let's get into the show. This is a really beautiful one, and if you want to hear about Morgan's experience in the Akashic Records, stay listening until the very end. And yeah, my newsletter has all of the sales, everything. The prices are already marked down, so I'll link everything in the show notes. And happy shopping! I love you. Okay, let's go. Welcome, Morgan Tedeschi to the show, to AG University podcast. This is a really cool episode because Morgan and I have met. Our stories have been like this, interwoven. I'm doing a hand motion right now from we did an event together. We met at Symbiotica. She's a breathwork facilitator, a holistic health coach, but she really approaches mind, body, spirit, everything. Like you were an all encompassing wise medicine woman. That's how I feel when
Thank
I'm in her
you.
energy. And you guys, now she is an AG University Akashic Records reader. And so she does this really cool fusion where she takes in her clients and she looks at all of their physical, the stool sample, the blood work, all the things, but then also channels the Akashic Records. And I just think you're a perfect example of how the Akashic Records can be supportive for so many different fields. And we have so many synchronicities, and I'm just really happy you're here, Morgan. And I can't wait for you to sprinkle your magic with everyone and your wisdom. And you're just so healing and loving. And welcome to the show.
Oh my God. What a sweet intro. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. And it was so funny. You have been such an expander for me the past few years. And when I found out you were going to be at Symbiotica, this beautiful mansion in Malibu, that was unreal. I was running up to you. I'm like, AG, hi, I love you. We need to be friends. And our friendship just started from there, which is like really beautiful and really divine and synchronistic as always. And yeah, it's been an honor helping you with your health, but also like getting trained in the Akashic Records. And it's opened up a lot of doors for me and a lot of doors for my clients. So I can't thank you enough.
Oh, well, I can't thank you enough. And we really did. We did such a beautiful, energetic trade. She shared her gifts with me. I shared my gifts with her. And I was like, I love an old school, like trading a skill for a skill.
Me
And,
too. It's the best.
you know, I also love how you just came up to me and you're like, hi, I'm Morgan. What's your name? I know you. I listen to your podcast, blah, blah, blah. I was just like, I love you. Let's be friends. And then it worked out as the universe perfectly plants people in your life when you need them. Literally like 2 months later, I was consuming her content and everything she posted just resonated so deeply because you're someone that really, really, really focuses on nervous system regulation, which is
Oh,
my.
yes.
I just posted yesterday on Instagram. I'm like, I will die on this hill. So many people write me saying they have a mysterious illness or something is wrong with them, and they have gone to all the doctors and tried all the things, and they cannot figure out what the heck is wrong with them. And I'm like, listen to me, come closer. Do you know what's going on with your nervous system? Let's start there. And you were sharing that content, and I was feeling that because I was having gut issues. I was having all kinds of weird issues where my intuition led me to get some blood work, and I ended up getting crazy blood work back and a very unexpected Hashimoto's diagnosis. My thyroid was wonky. Everything was going, ah. And I was like, I'm not going to panic. And I'm going to reach out to people who are going to hold my hand and be like, it's going to be okay. And so the moment that I started getting a few tests done, I was like, I want to get everything done. I want to do a stool sample. I want to do just everything. And Morgan offers all of these testings and she analyzes the data. So she was the person that I went to that was looking at like, okay, let's take it like 10 steps further. Let's look at my cortisol levels. Let's look at this hair sample. Like, let's look at everything and just see, like, let's get like a really nice big full picture. And then once she gathered that data, then she kind of customized a plan for me. And I mentioned to you guys on the podcast, it was my first time dipping my toes in breath work. And that was Morgan. Morgan was my first personalized breathwork facilitator, and she does tons of breathwork classes all over. And I felt like I just told you, I was like, I want to go really gentle and really slow, and please hold my hand. And you were like, okay.
We got this. You got this.
Yes. So that's kind of how we really hit it off, and we really bonded over, some of our struggles that we shared together just with hormones and thyroid and gut issues. And you're like, girl, I feel you. We're going to get through the other side. And it was just really nice having you hold me during that time. So thank you for that.
Of course.
And yeah, just kind of tell everybody, like, how did you come into this space, learning all of this knowledge that you have, and like, what does your health journey look like? And just tell us everything.
Yeah, it is an extensive one. So I will spark note it for sure. But yeah, I feel like anyone that's in this role as a healer or practitioner went through some darkness and some trouble in their health journey. And so, yeah, that started when I was 19 years old. I was a freshman in college. I played Division I lacrosse, and all of a sudden I started getting sinus infections out of nowhere. So I went to the ear, nose, and throat doctor, as we do, and was just prescribed a lot of antibiotics for these sinus infections. And they kept coming. They were reoccurring. So over like 3 or 4 months, I took like 3 2-week, I think, rounds of antibiotics. And at the time, I knew nothing about gut health. Now, if looking back, I'm like, oh my God, that just shot all of my good bacteria in my gut. What was I doing? But So I was taking the antibiotics and then I started feeling worse, not just sinus wise, like very much so digestive wise. I had a lot of pain. I was going to the bathroom all the time. I felt very spacey. I felt very fatigued. And of course, I'm a freshman on a team. I'm not listening to my body. I never really even understood at all how to understand the language of my body growing up, but especially during college. And I was pushing myself in in the classroom. I was also just going out and drinking heavily, and it was the time. So my body one day was like, no, we've had enough, girl. You've been pushed into max capacity. And I remember I passed out in the freshman dorm room bathroom, and my RA found me. She took me to the infirmary on campus, and it was like a 0 to 100 thing. I was like screaming bloody murder, and I have a pretty high pain tolerance. I was like, I'm gonna die. Like, this is the most pain I've ever had in my life. So they took me to another hospital near school, and they did some CAT scans and such. And they were like, holy shit, get this girl to the ICU. So my parents were in Florida at the time. They split their time there half the year, and they got a call like, your daughter is in Mass General. She's in the ICU. It's not looking too hot. And they're like, the what? So they flew in, and that's just classic Morgan. Of course, I didn't tell them anything that was going on. I just assumed I had like food poisoning for like 2 weeks, literally. And I was just like, every day, I'll sleep on it. I'll get better tomorrow. I'll sleep on it. No, don't do that, everyone. Listen to your body, and give it the space to actually communicate with you, and the courage to listen. So anyways, didn't do that. I was in the ICU for like 3 days, and the doctors were unsure what was going on, but they did tell my parents, like, her colon is so infected that we might need to remove it, and if so, there's probably a 50% chance that she'll live, because it was so inflamed that the toxins could have like spilled into my other organs and caused a whole system shutdown. So my parents are obviously freaking out, and the doctors hadn't, like, again, there was no like diagnosis at the time for what was going on. So finally they're like, okay, we don't need to take our colon, it'll be okay, let's just move her upstairs to the GI department. So I spent 3 weeks in the hospital, and the doctors would come in hazmat suits. They had no idea what was going on. They like were like, this is an infectious disease, probably. I was losing weight like no tomorrow because I could not eat. I could barely drink. I was just like crunched over in pain like the entire time I was on the hospital bed. And it's definitely a time that I've had to reprocess and make peace with, because I blacked out a lot of that pain. It was really scary, especially not knowing what was going on. But eventually I found out that I had C. difficile, also known as C. diff, in the hospitals. And it's essentially something that is contracted typically with people that are older, like in elderly homes or in hospitals. But I had got it from all the antibiotics I was taking. So essentially, like, the good bacteria in my gut was just degraded so much by the antibiotics that the bad bacteria, just to make the sound a lot easier and streamlined, kind of took over. So just caused a lot of inflammation, a lot of toxicity. And yeah, this bacteria really took me down, or at least almost took me down. So yeah, at 19, I was facing like a life-threatening condition. And from that space, I was like, okay, well, I got to start doing things different. I got to start living things different. And it really awakened my eyes to the power of how important food is, and just the way that we mindfully live, and how we speak to ourselves, and the boundaries we set, everything that has to do with mind, body, spirit health. And it didn't start that way. So when I got out of the hospital, I was down a lot of pounds because I couldn't eat for essentially a month. And my parents, my coaches, my friends were like, go home this semester. Like, there's no point for you to be here. And I was like, no, like, I'm Virgo sun and moon. I'm a manifesting generator. Like, I just like do what I want. I put my mind to it. And I went back to school. I built back the strength and the endurance, and I caught up on my classes, and was at the same time like still having to go to all these appointments to make sure that the C. diff was gone, and that I was on the path to healing. And about like 2 months out of the hospital, things went backwards again. So I started to kind of get all of these symptoms that doctors would just put under the umbrella term of IBS today. So I was chronically bloated from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to sleep. I felt and
Mm.
looked pregnant. I had a lot of acid reflux. I remember like I used to run and it would like just be so fiery and painful every time I ate. I mean, there was for sure a mental component of the fear around food, but it would also create physical manifestations of pain after eating. I had so much anxiety, literally for the first time in my life. I had brain fog. I got diagnosed with ADHD. There was just so many things that weren't who I was, and that I felt so out of body and so alone, kind of, because I was part time, like trying to investigate what was going on with my health. And every doctor I went to, I did every test, every scan, every scope, the colonoscopies, the endoscopies, the whatever, you name it, I did it. And every test came back normal. And the doctors were like, you're fine,
No,
you're
what?
chilling. Oh, yeah. It took a huge toll on my mental health because, I mean, I think my mom at the time was like the only one that actually knew what was happening because she was seeing my stomach and how hard and bloated and inflamed it was every single day. I wasn't going to the bathroom. Like there was just so many elements that I was only truthfully being honest with her. So she would come to these appointments with me and she would like help me kind of advocate for myself. And they were like, there's nothing we can do, ma'am. Like you can have a low fiber diet if you want. Just try to like meditate and reduce your stress. And like that was pretty much it. So I was like, all right, fuck this. I don't know if I can swear on this podcast, but
Yes, yeah, you
so
can.
I was like, all right,
Yeah.
fuck this. Like IBS is not going
Yeah.
to be my story. I do not want to continue living this way at 20, 21 years old. So I went down the route of Eastern medicine, of functional healing, of integrative healing, of holistic healing. And I remember seeing this functional medicine doctor. She was amazing. And we did all the tests that you and I did, AG. And she was like, oh my god, like there is so much going on underneath the surface and there's so much work that you and I can do together. And she was like, I'm going to help you heal, like no matter what it takes, we're getting to the root and you're going to be able to create so much freedom from all of these things that have really been degrading your quality of life for quite some time. And I remember
Mm.
just like bawling. I think my mom was crying too. Like we were both crying because it was like two
Oh.
years of like feeling so like gaslit and just like so invalidated and so like lost and confused with what was going on with me. um that we both were just like so happy. And my mom on the way home, when she was dropping me back off at campus, she was like, you're going to be doing this one day, like you're going to be in the trenches with people, you're going to be helping them restore
Oh.
hope when they've lost it all in terms of their health, because there's so much that people don't know about their health and what contributes to what health even means for them. And taking that functional approach to things really changed my whole life. Because I mean, for example, like conventional tests are just comparing our metrics and our numbers to people that are already sick and that have disease. Meanwhile, functional ones are like aiming towards prevention, right? So they're comparing your numbers to what a healthy individual is. So you can catch things a lot easier and you can see where there's inflammation and where your cortisol is spiking and if there's pathogens or overgrowth or whatever there may be. So yeah, that first appointment really changed the trajectory of my life. And I mean, I have dedicated every year since then to heal in ways that are quote unquote out there for many people or that are woo woo or unconventional. I'm the queen of all of that. And I know you are too. And it's just been a beautiful unraveling and a beautiful journey of releasing a lot of energetic and emotional weight, and like remembering who I am and who I came here to be. And it's so funny that you think of me as a medicine woman because I did my first ayahuasca ceremony, and for those that are unfamiliar with that, it's a plant medicine, and it's something that I was guided to on this health journey to go deeper into why I had continued digestive issues while I was doing all the right things and while I was on this path as a healer and a coach. Um, and I was shown right away that I'm a medicine woman. And any journey that I've done since then is like, you came here to be a medicine woman. And I believe I am, because it's not like I'm just working with clients on food, although I'm a nutritionist. It's like we work with the four bodies. It's the mental, it's the physical, it's the spiritual, and the energetic. So yeah, that's a very, very short journey about how my health was at its darkest space, but how it created so much space for light and for just more evolution.
Wow. Oh my gosh, Morgan. The hazmat
Dude.
suits, when you said that, I no, I just like I wanted to hold you because like
Oh,
seriously, anyone listening, how fucking terrifying would that be? If you're in the hospital, you have no idea what's wrong, and people around you are wearing hazmat
yeah.
suits. I'd be like, wait, I'm scared. I'm so scared.
I was scared
That
as
is
shit.
really that is terrifying. And then to go on this journey for years, and that is why I'm obsessed with AG University. I'm obsessed with bringing people like you on. Like I see people from all different things of physical, mental, energetic, all the things. They get into this place where they're like, something's not right. I don't feel right, but no one will listen to me.
Yeah.
I will listen to you. Morgan will listen to you.
Yes.
Like, we will listen to you because sometimes it's not going to show on a traditional, all these tests that you were getting, but there is something there and you're not crazy and you're not making it up. It's just there's so many different ways that the monkey mind can manifest. But all of that is a divine, like, not plantations, that's the right implant. Like I was
Yeah.
trying to say,
It's an
like, it's put
assignment.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an assignment. Like, I don't ever want to scare anyone that, like, I genuinely don't believe that we can just like whoopsie poopsie manifest something bad for ourselves, or like oopsie poopsie like think bad health and like all of a sudden we have bad health. Like, I don't think that at all. I genuinely think some of these big hurdles, like for me, Hashimoto's and thyroid and all that stuff, like that was just my path. It
Yeah.
really was. Like, it was just what was meant to happen. But you and I both took it and ran with it. And wow, for the fact that you were 19 years old and spirit came to you, was like knocking on your door and was like, okay, this is your path. And the part when you said your mom turned to you and was like, you're going to be doing this, you're going to be in the trenches with people, that made me cry. I was like, oh,
Oh.
my throat is tightening right now. Like, the fact that your mom, she just knew, she's like, but she was there with you holding your hand. What a sweet mommy. And she was
Yeah,
like, this
she
is what you're
knew.
here to do, and you are like, you have such, like, I don't even know if you have this in your current Morgan bloodline, but you have like indigenous, I feel like American Indian wise woman healer. Like, I always see you with those types of ancestors working through you.
Mm.
Like, those spirits always are kind of around you and appear whenever we're together. So I'm curious, do you think that's ancestral, or is that in your current bloodline,
It
or?
must be ancestral. Like I'm
Okay.
Italian and Irish. Like I
Yeah,
don't I
you're
don't
like,
know if there if there's any in this. But it's funny you say that because I've had a lot of like mediums and psychics tell me the same thing, that it's like there's a lot of like a Native American energy like moving through me, and I feel it deeply too. So I love how I mean, I think you picked up on that in our reading as well. So it's cool.
yeah, yeah, I know. That was, so Morgan did some sessions for me, and then I did some Akashic channeling for her. Which, every time I do Akashic Records readings for people, typically it moves through me so quickly, and I forget everything. But yeah, so maybe I
Yeah.
already told you that. But for anyone listening, it's just it's a really, really beautiful story, and thank you for sharing that with
Of
us.
course.
And you're also really brave for doing ayahuasca. I always applaud people who feel the call to the medicine or to plant medicine in any capacity. I don't have the call. I'll never say never, but I don't, it doesn't speak to me. It doesn't call to me. And anytime I've done plant medicine has been like a literal disaster. like, like I was so bummed, and I'm like, it was, first of all, terrible. And second of all, like, I didn't even get anything out of it. My body just shut down. It was like,
Mm.
no, it was like, you're too sensitive and you're like literally barely tethered to this reality. So like, stop it.
Don't you even think about that.
Yeah, they're like, you don't need plant medicine, my girl. I was like, oh, whoops. Which, didn't you say you went on a recent plant medicine journey?
Yes, I did. I did a psilocybin journey. And it's funny. It's like you definitely have to feel the call. So like I honor you for saying currently that it's like there is no call, and that you don't see that being really in your dharma right now. And it's nothing I ever thought that was going to be a part of my path. I mean, I grew up in Boston. This is so psychedelics is so foreign on the East Coast, and I believe a large part of my intuitive nudge to move to California and to be in San Diego specifically was to immerse myself in this plant medicine realm, because I do feel that with my medicine woman roots, I will be helping facilitate others through that one day in the future. Yes.
Yes, I remember. I do remember seeing that in your Akashic record. It's all coming back to
Yes.
me.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Oh wait, I even forgot that it was in there. And it's actually so funny. Before we hopped on, I'm like, how did I like start like following Anna Grace? And it was because I was on my way from San Diego to Ojai to sit in my first ceremony. I was scared as shit. I had no idea what I was walking into. So I was just like on Spotify typing in like ayahuasca, and your podcast came up where you were interviewing. I forget the woman, yeah,
Helen.
that was so helpful for me to like hear someone else's journey, and that's how I was connected with you, which is crazy. It's like all coming
Wait,
back.
that's actually crazy that you search ayahuasca too, because I've never even done ayahuasca, but I love that's how we got connected.
Yeah,
Because
somehow,
like,
or I was listening to a podcast and it was around similar times, but yeah, it was crazy. And I do want to like, I don't want this podcast to be mainly about plant medicine, but I do want to touch on how like our nervous system, and the dysregulation of it, as well as the emotions that have been suppressed in our system this lifetime and for many my lifetimes, can result in physical health issues. And that's why I was led to plant medicine in general. So um, I like ever since coming out of the hospital, I was able to naturally heal all of my symptoms except this bloat. It was like a chronic bloat. And I say my bloat is my teacher because it's allowing me to be led and to open portals to connect to people and to modalities and experiences that are needed for me to continue to hone in on my own healing journey, but also be able to help others and hold that space and hold that torch, so to speak, on their journey. So when I moved out here, I was like, okay, I'm ready to do this. Like, there's obviously something that's on the somatic level, on the cellular level, is going wrong and is like needs some attention, needs some love, needs some balancing out, because I'm eating great. I work out. I know what my body needs, and nothing and no practitioner, no doctor that I've ever seen has been able to truly help me. It's a me thing. And it's so funny, every appointment I have, they're all like, you are a mystery, my friend, like not sure how this is happening based on everything that's going on. So I'm like, okay, there's something karmic happening here. I got to go deeper. So I had signed up for ayahuasca, and the facilitator was like, when you sign up, the medicine will start to work through you. It might bring things to the light, bring things to the surface that it wants you to bring into their ceremony to heal. And I was like, perfect. Like, show me what you got, spirit. Like, show me what you got, body. Because I'm like, I'm at my wits fucking end here. So I was on a podcast and I was listening, and someone had mentioned childhood sexual abuse. And for the first, and I hear that a lot in podcasts, it's very common these days. And this specific time, I had the most visceral, like I felt like I was gonna throw up, like I was gonna shit my pants, that I was gonna
mhm.
bawl. So I went back to my house, and I do a lot of energy work. So I was like muscle testing. I was like, was I ever like sexually abused? And I was like getting yes over and over and over again. I kept testing. I'm like, no way, no way, no way. And I was like, yep. And then I tested my age. I got age 7 again, tested, all age 7, age 7. And I'm like, okay. So I kind of like sat with this, like don't have conscious memory of it, but like connected with some psychics and healers that I had been working with, and they all confirmed it. And I was like, all right, this is the journey that I'm going to go on to heal through. And when we do have something like a sexual abuse, in our lifetime, it really disorients our nervous system, because we at the time, so age 7, I wasn't able to fully process what had gone on. So I had repressed this memory. That's why it's in my subconscious, not my conscious. And that has created so much density and like stagnation, and internal turmoil in my system. And because I wasn't able to process it, it kept my system in a state of fight or flight. So just certain things, like I'm of a perfectionist, I'm all or nothing. When I was drinking heavily, like I was blacking out all the time. I went through a lot of binge and restrict cycles with food. Like there were so many things that I was doing that was essentially me just running away from the shit I didn't even know was there. So plant medicine has been a beautiful journey to help me remember it. But there's also things like breath work and somatic healing, and just like tapping, things that we can do to kind of work with the subconscious, work with our nervous system, and then regulate it, rewire it, and understand how we can create safety. And that's like what I'm so passionate about now, because the nervous system is always the root of why there's any health issues in the system. So that was a major tangent, but I think it all just kind of comes together well in terms of why the nervous system is so important, especially when it comes to to any sort of trauma or manifestation of emotions that haven't been able to be processed or felt.
Wow. Yeah. So, and thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing that, because I know that takes a lot of courage to share your story. And wow, the fact that, also, just to give people a little bit of context, Morgan is really good at muscle testing. You're saying muscle testing, which is where you ask your body for a positive or a negative response, and your muscles will react in that way. So, like they love to say the body keeps score. You know, people in this space, the body keeps score. So the body remembers, but the mind might not remember. So you're able to access that information through the muscles, which is so interesting. Could I ask, when you discovered this information
Mm.
and then went into the plant medicine ceremony, if you share only what you feel comfortable sharing, but kind of what happened from there? Were you able to process it, or
Oh
just
yes. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that ceremony is extremely dark. I relived it for
okay,
sure.
we don't have to,
Yeah.
yeah, oh okay, so it did,
No,
the
I'm
memory did,
literally such an open book. Yeah, I relived it. But it was beautiful at the same time because I was able to hold my inner child through it and let her know that it wasn't her fault and that I got her.
oh,
And yeah, it was, although it was dark, it was extremely healing. And
mm,
every ceremony that I've done since then has become lighter because I've been able to like have the courage to go into the dark and move with it and dance with it and alchemize it and release it, because I no longer want to hold it and I don't want to pass it on to my daughter. So it's like breaking
mm,
all these like generational chains of ways that women in my family or even men have just been disoriented and dysregulated because they didn't feel safe to go into the pain or the density. And we need to feel it in order to heal it. And that's why I freaking love breath work so much, because it allows us to work with the subconscious and it allows us to feel what wants to be seen and held and loved and admired, regardless of if we deem it as a good or a bad emotion. Emotions are just energy in motion. It's our perception of these emotions, love versus fear, that makes them kind of carry so much weight.
oh, absolutely. And I feel that a lot of people who are like new to opening their spiritual gifts or new to the spiritual space always kind of wince at the, oh, it's dark, or there's darkness or whatever. And I always tell people that, first of all, every single thing that exists on this planet is energetically connected, whether it's good, bad, light, dark, it's all one. It's all
Mm,
one. And so when you think of it like that, there's really nothing to be afraid of, because we always have the ability to transmute into lightness, right? We're going to experience something, and like we're in control of the situation. Well, it's really why we have free will. Like we can make whatever we want out of the situation by sometimes just sitting with it and acknowledging it and being like, it's okay to sit in the dark.
yeah.
Darkness is okay. Like some of these experiences happened to us at one point in our life, and we're still here. We're still here. We're still living. Like we can do this. It's so empowering, I think, to have the bravery to sit with our own darkness. And everyone has it. Everyone has something in their life, and it's nothing to be feared.
Mm-mm.
It's meant to be explored. That's why it's there.
Yeah.
It's so important for people to, I think people just get so afraid of it, that they won't even look. And I'm like, no, the more that you can, like you said, dance with the darkness. I love that. And just be okay with everything. You're guided, you're protected. It's already all been written. It's this perfect jigsaw puzzle that we've already all agreed to. So like, dance the dance, just jump in.
Yes.
And like, just, and it's kind of explain, now that takes us into the topic of breath work.
Mm,
So, you learned that, okay, people who maybe don't do plant medicine need to feel it to let it go,
yeah.
like you were saying. And so, kind of take us how you ended up as a breathwork facilitator and what you have seen or experienced in that realm.
For sure, yeah. So I found breathwork randomly on Instagram. I do feel like spirit communicates with me via Instagram, like not always all the ads where I want to buy the clothes, but there's certain things that come through that I'm like, I need to buy this course, I need to buy this tool, I need to invest in this thing. It's bizarre, but it's also so divine. So I was recently going through a breakup. This was about like 2.5 years ago now. And I was like, God, universe, source, like send me a sign that it's going to be okay. Like I'm having a hard time in this darkness. Like I need some help here. And I had seen an Instagram course by one of the content creators that I follow, and it was about manifestation, but there also was a holotropic breathwork session at the end, and she was kind of like marketing it as psychedelic breathwork. And at the time, I didn't even know what psychedelic really meant, but I was like, whatever that is, I need it. So I ripped through the course. I did the 30-minute breathwork, and it was it's like it was literally like the most life changing like tool that I have ever utilized that like didn't cost money, you know, like it was just like my breath, and the patterning of my breath. And for anyone that hasn't done holotropic breathwork or heard of it before, essentially it's very simple. It's a 3-part breath. It's one inhale into the belly, one inhale into the chest, and let it go. So it's all through the mouth. And what this does is it allows us to tap into the subconscious. So our subconscious mind was created from ages 0 to 7. So everything that we have experienced as a kid, everyone that we communicated with, everything that we saw on TV, how we felt in school, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, was kind of programmed into our computer software, so to speak. And now we live our day to day with 95% um, with 95% being influenced by the subconscious. So we're essentially all just adults living in this like childhood kind of way of perceiving the world. So the thing I love about breath work and why it's so healing is that we go into that theta state, where we're able to access our right brain, which is the more intuitive, the more creative, the more open, the more receptive, the more feminine side of us, so that we can tap into the darkness that is lingering in the subconscious. And when I say darkness, it can be something just as small as you were drawing in class when you were 6, and the boy next to you said that was dumb and that was stupid and it's ugly. So then you come up with this like subconscious belief and programming of like, nothing I do is enough. And not being enough is a huge belief I've carried for a long time, for example. But that stays with us, and that manifests into dis-ease. It manifests into ways that we aren't aligning with who we are. So what breathwork does is allows us to unhook the mind. I always say breathwork is for those that can't meditate, because our thoughts are going crazy when we meditate. But with breathwork, it unhooks the mind so that we can drop into the body, drop into the heart, and the body is the subconscious mind. It's everything that we've endured thus far. So it allows you to really like recreate safety in your body, and more important, your nervous system, to hold and have the capacity to breathe into, to be with, to process, and to release any shame, guilt, fear, anxiety, stress, worry, etc., from our system that our body's no longer wanting to carry or to hold. So it just allows emotions to be as they are. They come and go, and whatever is like dense recycles into the universe for better use. So not only is it like a really beautiful modality to help our digestive system and our lymphatic system and for our mental health, but it really is allowing the trauma, again, the body keeps the score, the trauma that has been like lodged in our system, to release, so that we can find freedom, and so that we can let go of the blocks and the conditioning and the programmings and the limiting beliefs that don't allow us to rise, and that don't allow us to receive the abundance and the love and the joy and the happiness that we came here as humans, having a spiritual experience, to really receive.
Oh yeah, fantastic, phenomenal description of breathwork. And it is, you know, darkness, like you said. I always tell people, big T trauma, little t trauma, they can be very, very tiny things that shape our life, and we don't even remember it. It's just running on autopilot. I always like to use the computer programming. We just need to update our programs, just as we do when we get a new laptop, right?
Absolutely.
We need a little upgrade. We need a little reboot. So whether it's breath work, whether it's somatic, whether it's meditation, whether it's whatever you land on, I find if you just meet that darkness with one acknowledgement,
Yeah.
you just acknowledge and accept, that's all it takes. Sometimes you really don't have to do, I think people get intimidated by thinking they need to do all this work and undo all of these things. And I'm like, no, sometimes you just need to witness it
Yeah.
and say it's okay. And no, there's another way. I actually, this might be too, I know this isn't too weird for you, Morgan, but anybody listening might be like, okay, she's really losing me today. But I did some, because you taught me gentle breath work, and I have just slowly because after I started doing breathwork with you, I got Reiki certified, and then I started
Mm,
doing Reiki and breathwork, and
beautiful.
then Akashic Records, and like I just kind of kept stacking. And I may have already told you this, but I was taken back to a time, not that I like consciously remember this, but it was more of like I was being shown of being in my mother's womb and having some of the traumatic experiences she experienced being passed to me in the womb. And like I said, I don't think that it was like I literally remembered it happening. It was just showing me sometimes that's how it happens. But if you think about it, even as a baby, like you're living inside of someone, and it was the most beautiful experience because it did not make me feel like, first of all, if anyone's pregnant, you can't control what happens to you when you're pregnant. But it was just like, I just saw it, acknowledged it, and was like, oh, some of these things are just passed to us and I don't have to identify with them. It's not mine. And I just separated from the story and just went on about my business. It was very gentle,
Yeah.
like, but it was just very interesting that I was like, wow, when you do breath work, it really does open up your eyes to, like, when I sit with this darkness, it's never been scary. It's just been very informative and a
Mm.
lot of information that I feel like my body's been dying to tell me. It's like, please listen to me.
Hello.
Just sit with me. Hello, I'm trying to talk to you. And I feel like if you can just meet the body with acknowledgement and acceptance, that's it. That in my personal experience. So I would love to hear if you feel the same
Oh,
way.
yeah, absolutely. It's like we're meaning making machines as humans, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to always attach a story or this must have happened to me when I was 3 or this is my mom's pain. It's like, no, we can just, like you said, be with it. We can sit with it. We can acknowledge it and then it can be let go. And I think breathwork is a beautiful testament to what root cause healing really is, especially when it comes to the programming that you kind of just mentioned. Like, for example, like if you print something and there's a typo, like using whiteout isn't going to change the fact that there's a typo. So you not only have to print it again, but first you have to go to the person that's even typing. So you have to go back to the hard drive to help them understand how to do it a different way. So there's 3 layers. It's like the hard copy, which is like the physical, the 3D, our body, our vessel, the hard drive, which is like our emotions, our beliefs, and then the person typing it, which is all about the energy that drives the belief. So that's why breath work is so important, because it's working with all 3 of these layers, and it's allowing us again to release whatever needs to be, that's very divine, and it doesn't have to be made out to be some big deal. And yeah, we do carry our mom's pain. We actually carry our mom's pain and our grandmother's pain. It's our womb holds 2 generations back, and some might even argue more. So I know that might be a little cry cry for people that are listening, but it's true. It's like not all of the shit that we have and that we feel and that we experience and that we believe is our shit.
Yeah. And it might not always make sense. And that's okay. That's why I'm such a advocate for just learning about all these modalities and just having tools, so when things that are unexplained that are coming up into your life, you're like, okay, something's going on with me. I'm going to drop into my body. I'm going to bring acknowledgement and I'm going to clear this. And I feel that I've been operating from that space specifically since all the thyroid stuff came up. I was like,
Mm,
I'm just going to witness everything, whatever it is. And it really taught me not to be afraid, because like I said, I feel like a lot of people are afraid of this term darkness, and I've never had a scary experience. It's just been informative. It's just been
mm,
information. It's just data. Like, that's how I want people to think about everything in their life. It is simply data.
yeah.
Only you have the lens to be afraid of it. Like, you're not going to be taken down by this. You're just here to acknowledge it and to bring love and acceptance and understanding. It's just like people in your life that maybe you're like, ooh, they're kind of a dark person. Like, it's okay. We're gonna hold our own energy, and we're gonna just stay in our sovereignty and our power, and no one can touch you. They really can't. And I feel that's a big lesson that I went through with my health journey, of just
Mm.
being fearless of everything around me. And even just talking to you on the mic, it's like I'm kind of recognizing that was a big theme. I hadn't even really articulated that. So, interesting. Okay, well, so will you tell us about your journey into the Akashic Records after you took the course, and just like
Of
how has that
course.
opened up for you? Because I know it's opened up one way for me, but I love to hear everyone's perspective.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I had just ever since I saw you posting about it, I just like felt super called to it. I feel like I've always known I'm super intuitive, but didn't really know like the exact like tools or ways in which to channel my intuitive abilities. So I think the Akashic Records was the first tangible thing where I could do it for other people and like have them being like, holy shit, like where did that just come from? Like that's so true. Like I've done a lot of free readings for family and friends and clients. I now incorporate this into the work that I do with my clients in terms of health. But it's just like so powerful. It's hard for me to explain. I'm like, I don't know where it's coming from exactly, but like I'm just the conduit. Like, and you journal, right? Or
Yeah,
okay.
I journal. You know, in the beginning strictly journaled because it was just really easy for me to feel the stream of consciousness coming through writing. But now I do everything. Now I'll just straight up open the records and just speak it.
Mm,
I'm also like but I would say I'm very
okay.
clairaudient or yeah,
Yeah.
clairaudient. And I'm also clairvoyant. So like I will see things, but I can also hear the messages coming through. They always like come through this ear. So
Cool.
yeah, but I mean, the Akashic Records, I feel like, is the subconscious mind, is a collective subconscious mind. How about that?
Mm,
Like, I feel that a lot of people are wary of, a lot of people who are psychics and mediums, and I'm not throwing shade to them at all, but they will say, like, oh, I'm channeling like a spirit guide or I'm channeling something, which is great for them if that's their process and that's how it works. But I feel like when people are just getting started, that sounds kind of intimidating because people are like, who, what are we doing with the Akashic
yeah.
Records? It's like you're tapping into a database. this is like this is a big universal cloud. I mean, that's literally how I see it, is like the cloud, like our iPhone uploads to the cloud, but this is a universal cloud. And it makes sense because you guys, we're electromagnetic beings. Another thing that I will die on this hill, and like we basically
Yep.
are iPhones. We are like, and in the way that I feel we are iPhones is because we've come into this world and we continue to recreate that same technology that I feel like we were also created with, like video games, virtual reality, artificial intelligence, iPhones, iCloud, all of those things. We continue to recreate worlds inside of worlds, social media, another world inside of a world inside of a world, because we are that. That data and that programming lives inside of us. So to me, I know, I can get pretty lost in the woo woo, which I love, but like the Akashic record just makes sense. I'm like, you're
Yeah.
literally plugging in to a universal cloud of data. And to me, that feels less, I don't know, intimidating, or it's very sound information.
Yeah.
It's very just like the universal eye. So I know what you're saying when you're like, I don't even know where it's coming from. It's literally like you're plugging into this hard drive, but it's just like love. Only love exists on that plane.
Yeah.
It's so cool. I
It
love
is
it
so
here.
cool. And like your course was so like amazing because it made it
Thank
so
you.
easy to understand what it was and also how to do it, and like the fact that anyone can do this, like we're all
Hmm.
so intuitively gifted. It's just like being able to trust that. And yeah, so I've been journaling for my clients and my family and friends, and it's like it's not even my handwriting. I'm like I'm just a conduit to source. I'm just a conduit to their information. And then for me, which has been super helpful, I feel like, in terms of strengthening my intuitive muscle in general. Like I'll go for a walk and I'll open the records before, and then I will just like not listen to anything, and I'll just have downloads come through and I just write them on my phone. It was so funny. I was on my notes app on my phone this morning, and I was like going through some old records that I had written out like after I first learned, and I was like, oh my god, even back then, like I just trusted the process, and a lot of things that I was writing down have manifested, or they are currently something that I'm working through. So it's just beautiful that we can
Mm.
access these parts of our soul that are wanting to communicate with us, and it's just amazing how you're giving people the ability to access this power and this medicine that resides within them that they can use for their own life and benefit, but also to help others.
Yeah, well, and I just love how you're weaving it into health because I feel like the Akashic Records has so many healing remedies. A lot of my skin healing remedies came from the Akashic Records. It's really cool. And I saw on your story, you're like, hey guys, I'm opening up some reading spots. And I was like, yes, queen. I just get so excited because I'm like, think if we could all access this information, the world would just be so much lighter. But
True.
even you just accessing the information for your clients, it provides an activation for them, So whether or not they're intuitive or not, it allows people to feel that loving energy. And I feel like after I'm in the records, I'm so buzzy and light, and I just like feel. That's another thing that I just like. I feel unconditional love when I work
Mm,
with that energy, and it's just really cool. So, anyways, I'm really happy. Thank you for sharing your experience, that you've been able to
of
share
course.
that with your clients. And before we wrap up, I do want to, and you can go long winded on this, there's all the time in the world on my end, but for someone who is struggling with really debilitating health issues right now, or they're frustrating, how about that?
Mm,
Like gut issues, bloat. When you said the bloat, I'm like, there's nothing worse than just
yeah,
chronic gut, gassy, bloaty. I had like years of that I worked through. And again, mine was all emotional. Um, but if there's someone right now who's in the throes of their health journey and they're just feeling really defeated, what would you like, could you maybe give them like steps 1 2 3, like, okay, let's just start here, because I always love to leave people with some basic tangible tips to help them
for sure.
wherever they're at. So just kind of whatever you feel called to, whatever comes to you, go with it.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, the first thing, and this isn't necessarily a plug to me, this can be for any practitioner, but don't do it alone. I I feel like I wasted so much time just isolating myself and like not opening up to my friends and not looking for like-minded practitioners or just people that could hold a safe space for me to talk about what I was even experiencing. It doesn't even have to be someone in the health field. It could just be a somatic experiencing practitioner. It could be a therapist. Just open up and express what you're moving through, because again, like, more repression is just going to continue to breed more physical manifestations of symptoms that you don't want. So be open, talk about what's going on, and ideally try to find a practitioner that's more functional, holistic, or integrative, maybe in combination with someone that's more conventional, just so that you can get a well-rounded approach to what is going on when it comes to functional lab testings, which I think is super important always to test rather than just kind of guess what's going on and just do whatever the routine the TikTok girl is telling you to do. So that would be
Mm-hmm.
first, because we have to work with the energetic and emotional body when it comes to illness. Like AG said, like, we're all energy. 99.999% of everyone and everything is energy. So working with the energetics of all that you hold in your body, the internal and external reality, is how you break free. So that's number one. Number two definitely is food. Food is a foundation. Not only will eating clean and having it be blood sugar regulated and balanced open up your portal to higher powers and the divine, because it regulates your system, but it also will reduce inflammation. And inflammation, along with nervous system dysregulation, is at the root of so many health issues. So when I say blood sugar balancing, that just means like combining fats with proteins and carbs, and working with someone again to understand kind of your threshold for all of those is super important. Also, some more tips here, like trying to eat, especially for women, and especially if you're dealing with hormonal imbalances, like try to eat within 90 minutes of waking up, and ideally trying to eat or trying to avoid caffeine on an empty stomach, because that just like spikes our cortisol and spikes our blood sugar for the day. And really trying to hone in on having 3 square meals a day. I've been there. I've had really hard and horrible relationships with food where I've starved myself and then I've overeaten, but we are sending a signal to our nervous system that we are not safe if we are chronically skipping meals, or if we're just like not prioritizing having whole foods based, nutrient dense, protein rich meals every single day. So please, please, please. And when it comes to regulating safety in your body, like, fuel, eat up. You might be eating a lot less calories than your body really needs to feel safe. So support and emotional support, food. Oh my God, there's just like so many tips I could give.
We
I
can keep
have to go
going.
into mindfulness, right? Because like, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
hey, the conventional doctors told me focus on mindfulness, it's connected to stress, but that's a gut brain connection. And our gut is what produces 95% of our serotonin, which is our feel good, happy hormones and chemicals. So we want to be working with the body. So whether it's breath work or meditation, or even just like making your walks meditative. Like, don't have a podcast on, don't have an audiobook on, don't have music, just be with yourself and your thoughts and allow it to get you into the present. Tai Chi, just dancing, intuitive dancing. I know you love, like, you're just like intuitive dance, move, shake, feel. These are all just beautiful, beautiful ways to allow your system to recreate safety. At the end of the day, that's the name of the game, is creating safety in a system that has probably felt unsafe for quite some time based on how we work out and eat and think and believe. Et cetera, et cetera. And then minerals, and water, like clean water. Like, please, please, please don't drink tap water or from a Brita. They are not doing their job. And there's like birth control in our water. There's pesticides, there's hormones. So please, if you can get a pretty good filter, that's amazing. And put some electrolytes in there. Minerals are spark plugs for our hormones. And whenever we're chronically stressed, our body depletes minerals right away. So it's the most important thing to focus on daily when it comes to replenishment, because the minerals allow the water to actually move into the cell and to actually hydrate. If we're continuing to drink water without any mineral throughout the day, sometimes it's not even doing what it really needs to do in terms of hydration. And then lastly, I would say working with your cycle if you're a woman and have a cycle.
Mm-hmm.
It's a privilege to have a cycle. It's a privilege to have a healthy cycle, meaning that you bleed every single month. Bleeding and being on our menstrual cycle is a vital sign, along with our breath. So there's so many different things that you can utilize when it comes to syncing up your life and your body and your workouts and your diet with your cycle. But it really just allows you to work with your body versus against it, because as women, we're synced up to an infradian rhythm, which is a 28-day cycle. So our body is changing, our physiological body is changing every 28 days versus men that are changing every 24 hours. So we are so much different. And if you're interested in this, check out Jolene Brighton. She's an amazing resource. So is Alyssa VT. I've learned so much from both of them in terms of cycle syncing. And then one more, just be kind to yourself. You need love on this journey. And the way that you speak, I mean, thoughts and the way that you speak to yourself are energy, right? So making sure that you're moving with, you're talking with, you're breathing with love is really going to go a long distance, especially when you're having trouble like recognizing yourself in the mirror due to symptoms that may be exacerbated here and there, or that make you feel lost or that make you feel alone. Like, you need the utmost love for yourself. It's the most important relationship we have. So love, 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 baby.
Well, all is love. I know I actually wanted to tackle onto that one because I feel like when I was going through the whole Hashimoto's era was also the time of my life where I was getting ready for my wedding, which,
Mm,
I just got married. And there was no reality in which I was getting into shape or whatever. Everyone, like, as soon as you start thinking about wedding, you're like, everyone's programming is like, I need to be in the best shape of my
yeah.
life, which I always like. One, I know it's a very low key toxic, but it's also something that I feel almost everyone has had that
Oh, for
thought. Like, I'm
sure.
not going to sit here and say I haven't had those thoughts, but I really, really, really had to be like, you know what? I'm not the lightest I've ever weighed. I could be the heaviest I've ever weighed. But at the end of the day, if I killed myself right now to lose 5 pounds and ran every day and all these things, Austin doesn't care. That man loves me. Like, I was like, really? It's like, doesn't matter. No one's going to notice the day of. Like, it's just, and I really had to look at myself in the mirror and be like, my body right now is doing what my body thinks is best for me
Mm-hmm.
and is trying to protect me and love me. And that's what everyone needs to listen. If you're going through a health situation, your body is literally doing everything it can
Yeah.
to keep you alive and keep you well. And your body is not letting you down. Your body is loving you. This body unconditionally loves us, and it just wants unconditional love in return. And I was still on the phone with one of my friends just yesterday, and she's a new mom,
Mm,
and she's been really stressed out because her baby has tummy issues and colicky and all these things. And I just told her, I was like, and she was just getting really overwhelmed with the information. And I was like, look at me, listen to me. You have unconditional love for that baby, and that unconditional love will heal all. At the end of the day, if you don't have the answers, drop the stress and just focus on loving and holding and kissing on that baby. And it's the same with our
Yeah.
bodies. The unconditional love will blast out all of that dysregulation and discombobulation. Even if you can't have a perfect diet all the time, we just won't. We're going to mess it up. We're not all going to be perfect, but like you said, being kind to yourself and having unconditional love. I mean, love really does heal all, because at the end of the day, if all of this is some type of dysregulation or darkness or trauma or something that's happened to us, love is the key. It really is. So it's just a good final note to leave everyone with. And thank you for sharing all of those free tips,
Of
Morgan. Thank
course.
you. Lots of free information here, but of course, please let them know where they can find you, listen to you, speak more wisdom, talk about your plant medicine journey, like all of the things. Just plug, 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 plug. And I also want to link those other resources that you shared too.
Oh, for sure. Yes. Thank you. And just one more comment about the love thing. The book, The
Mm-hmm.
Return to Love and You Can Heal Your Life, are one of, or two of the most powerful things that I've ever read that really taught me just how important love is and how you can bring more of it into your life. So if you're kind of like, I don't know how to love myself more, go to one of those two books or both of them. They are really, really pivotal. I have all of my clients read them.
Will you say them again?
Yeah, A Return to Love and
Okay.
Marianne Williamson and You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay.
Mm. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, love Louise Hay. I haven't read those books, but maybe I
Oh,
will, because I just always love to read
yeah.
something
You
new.
should. And even it's like books that
Great.
you can kind of just pick up and put down too. Nothing too crazy. But yeah, if you guys want more free info, follow me on Instagram. It's at Morgan Diana Wellness. I work with clients one-on-one with their health. I'm also launching a group program in January. I have a breathwork portal, which is just a library of a lot of guided breathwork practices. And then I also have a podcast. It's called Find Your Light. And AG and I are doing an interview on there tomorrow. So come on over there and hang. I interview a lot of cool people that are just talking about health on so many different levels and facets. So thank you so much for having me, girl.
Thank you so much. You are such a light, and you're so in your purpose, and you're going to help so many people. And we're just so lucky to have you. And I love
I
you.
love you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Mwah.